Super Smash Bros. Is a juggernaut in the world of video games. Its numerous entries and gigantic character rosters ensure success, as there will be at least a few characters in the series that can appeal to all kinds of demographics. The anime fans can use the Fire Emblem characters, the furries can use the Pokemon, the FGC boomers can use Terry, and the fans of Raging Bull like myself can use the Mario characters.
Why don't you tell me about it, huh?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Why don't you tell me, huh? Did you fuck my brother?
I love Smash Ultimate, and I vividly remember the hype train of 2018 that accompanied it. But for this video, I wanted to return to the series' inception, the game that started it all. Keep in mind that I won't be breaking down every single mechanic found in the game, rather, I'll be providing a general overview of its elements. Released in 1999 as a Nintendo 64 exclusive, and including characters from Super Mario Bros., The Legend of Zelda, Pokemon, Star Fox, and more, Super Smash Bros. On the N64 truly was the start of something amazing. I'm sure we all know about the development of the game and who directed it, so I don't need to cover that. Instead, let's begin with the basic gameplay. If you're used to modern Smash Bros. Games, it's pretty much the same. You can walk, run, block, jump, do normal attacks, throws, specials, and smash attacks. However, there are no side special moves, air dodges, or vertical throws, among other things. According to a series breakdown of the Smash Bros. Subreddit, Smash 64 places emphasis on first hits and combo execution. It is more closely related to traditional fighters in this sense. This game also birthed the percentage mechanic, where the higher the percentage for a character, the further they fly across the screen when being hit. This is the main gameplay hook of Super Smash Bros., and what separates it from other, more traditional fighting games. Smash Bros. Combines the tactics of regular fighting games with the running and jumping of 2D platformers, and while this concept has been done to death nowadays, it was super unique back in the late 90s. What was also unique for a fighting game back in the day was having 4 players going at it at the same time. Forget having to 1v1 to settle a classic rivalry, because 2 other characters can crash the party if they're so inclined. With all that being said, Smash 64's gameplay hasn't aged perfectly, and it's a bit difficult going back to it. I often try to do a side B or a down throw out of habit, and it leaves me open to attacks when these don't come out. In terms of game speed, it's somewhere in the middle between Melee and Brawl in my opinion. While long combos do happen in high level tournaments where they use 4 or 5 stocks, the characters themselves aren't ridiculously fast like in Melee, but they're not super slow like in Brawl. Touch of deaths are also common in this game due to the sheer amount of hit stun attacks dish out, so if you find yourself dying at a combo when you had 0%, don't be surprised. There are also many items to be used in battle too. Competitive players turn these off, but these are really fun to use casually to gain the upper hand by picking up a random item and whacking your enemy with it to send them flying across the screen. Summoning a Pokemon was always my favourite as a kid, and I can confirm that it's still awesome to this very day. That's all well and good, but what content is there to see? You start off with 8 characters, but by meeting certain conditions, you can unlock Luigi, Jigglypuff, Ness, and Captain Falcon. Falcon is forever my favourite, and I'm so glad Nintendo thought of a way for him to move outside of his F-Zero vehicle. There are also 9 stages in the game, and this number is laughably small by today's standards, especially for Smash Bros. But they were really cool back in the day. Iconic stages like Hyrule Castle, Peach's Castle, Dreamland, and Congo Jungle all made their first appearances in the series right here in Smash 64. There are 4 modes for single player. 1P game, which is just classic mode, which is kind of like arcade mode in other fighting games like Street Fighter. Training mode, break the targets and board the platforms. These last 2 are the bonus stages of Smash 64, and while break the targets appeared in future games, board the platforms only appeared in this game, never returning. I'm not too sad that this is the case however, as I vastly prefer break the targets. Trying to memorize the level layout and break them all in the fastest time possible is good fun, and I always keep trying for one more time, forgetting it's 3 AM and I've spent the last 15 hours trying to hit this stupid thing. If you're looking for a multiplayer option, then you've got it in the form of local battles. Obviously this game doesn't have online play due to the game coming out in 1999 on the N64, so local multiplayer is the only option you've got. You can choose between a time or a stock battle and play with up to 3 friends on any stage that you want. I had lots of fun with this as a kid, and it's still quite enjoyable today. What I find the most interesting, however, is what didn't make it into the game. Smash Bros. Games have always been jam-packed with content, and it's easy to forget that games are made by real people under tight deadlines and budgetary concerns, so cuts must be made at some point in game development. The first cut I found during my research for this video was Marth from Fire Emblem. Known for having very poor grab range and melee, Marth was planned for Smash 64. In an interview with Masahiro Sakurai in the Japanese book Making Fire Emblem 25 Years of Development Secrets, Sakurai stated, "Well, I wanted to include Marth in the original Smash Bros. Game as a sword-wielding character, but for Smash 64, there were some features we barely finished in time, and the 4 hidden characters were created only on the premise of being able to reuse some movements and part of the models of pre-existing characters, so in the end, Marth couldn't make it in." After the game was released, Sakurai opened the official Smash 64 website, where he would give fun info about the game's development and answer questions from fans. In one answer, Sakurai wrote, "I briefly considered having Fox's other colors be the other members of the Star Fox team during development, but I decided against it." In November 1998, Nintendo Power magazine interviewed Sakurai and they asked him about the game's character roster. Sakurai replied by listing off characters who would appear in the final game, but he also mentioned Bowser, funnily enough. King DDD from Kirby was also mentioned as a cut character in an answer to a fan on the question website. When discussing a potential sequel to the game at the time, Sakurai stated that Bowser, King DDD, and Mewtwo were actually planned to appear during development, but due to a variety of issues, they all ended up being cut. Finally, while not a character, Final Smashes as a mechanic were also planned for Smash 64, believe it or not. According to Volume 5, Part 1 of the Smash Bros. Brawl edition of Iwata Asks, Sakurai once again stated, "Actually, I thought of using the Smash Ball since the very first Nintendo 64 version of the game. There are characters in the new series whose voices are the same as the ones we recorded for the Nintendo 64 Smash Bros. There are recordings we made for Final Smashes at that recording that are being used unaltered in the current Smash Bros. Brawl." It's wild to me how some of the Final Smash audio that's actually used in Brawl, like in the final game, is cut audio from the original Smash. Currently speaking, Smash 64 has a 79 on Metacritic, indicating positive reviews. Scores range from IGN's 8.5 out of 10 to EP Daily's 2 out of 10 what the hell wet spaghetti. Aside from the previous review I mentioned, the reception from critics and fans was positive. The multiplayer modes, music, character roster, and original fighting concept were praised, but the paltry single-player content left much to be desired in the eyes of critics. After reading reviews from multiple outlets, I realized that a common trend shared between the reviews is saying that the easy control scheme is very intuitive. While I love traditional motion inputs in fighting games, I can't deny that Smash's unique control scheme is very easy to understand, but offers enough depth to allow it to be played at a high level to do some really sick combos. The game is still being played today and has an extensive modding community. Smash Remix is an overhaul of the game, and you can actually play it on a real Nintendo 64 console. It adds a bunch of new characters to the game, including ones that never made it in, like Bowser, among other new additions, so the love for Smash 64 still goes strong over 20 years after it came out. While inferior to future games in the series for its relatively small character roster, stage list, and lack of key gameplay mechanics like side specials, Smash 64 was a very solid foundation for the series. I had lots of good memories come back to me while playing, and it inspired me to make this video, so I really hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, I hope you learned something fun about the game, and I'll see you in the next one.